What's going on, Thunder fans and anybody else who might be tuning in? Thank you so much for joining us here on this, is it a beautiful day? Is it a cold day? Is it both? I don't know how beautiful it is. It looks a little dreary out there. But,
pretty cold.
Say that again?
Pretty cold.
It's pretty cold.
Took my car a while to heat up.
That's the worst to me.
It's probably because my car's not very good, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
I won't agree with that.
Well, because I know the feeling. I know the feeling. I just wish that, one day I aspire to have the remote start action.
Oh, yeah.
That way I don't have to actually walk out there to start it early.
Sure.
But anyways, we're back for another week of Thunder Things. I'm Zach.
I'm Craig.
And we are the Thunder Guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Listeners all across the world. Whether you're listening on the Crossover Radio app, tuning in on Facebook Live, or watching on YouTube at some given point, or even downloading our podcast over at TalkShoe. Thanks so much for joining us. We got a lot to talk about. I feel like a lot's happened this last week.
Yeah,
I started writing out our topics, and
you didn't realize
there's a bunch.
Yeah.
Well, I've been kind of mentally coming up with things to talk about over the last few days. I've been really looking forward to this week, and so I feel like we've got a lot. I feel like we got a lot.
Yeah, let's do it.
So
let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Let's break down the last week.
Sorry for
of games.
If I sound kind of
stuffy
you're
or whatever.
overcoming
some stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I'm overcoming it. That's a good word. It's hanging around, but
don't get me sick, bro.
I'm trying to kick it out.
Don't get me sick. But anyways,
none of your kids got sick or anything, right?
Nah.
Cool.
They're man, my kids are like strangely healthy.
Well, because it was the next day that I left here last time we recorded that I started feeling bad, and they came out and was saying hi to me before I left, so I was like, oh no.
I feel like we've got a decent immune systems around here.
If they did get sick, I wasn't gonna say anything about it. I was just gonna.
Wasn't me.
Yeah.
Being around nasty high school kids, you'd think I'd be sick more often, but
probably builds your immune system.
It's got to, because I don't know where those hands have been.
Yeah.
Mouths have been. Anyway, we're moving past that. Right on past that. It was a rough week for the Thunder. And sadly, I did not get to watch a lot of Thunder basketball this week.
Same. That's good, right? It's good that we're getting that out there. Before we start this Thunder podcast, that we didn't watch.
You watched quite a bit more than I did.
Probably.
I of course went back and watched a lot of highlights. And let's see, I watched all of the Wizards and the Wolves games, so I guess I watched a decent amount. Didn't get to see anything but the last 6 minutes and the 2 overtimes of the game in San Antonio, and then I missed every single second of last night's game.
Bummer. I didn't see any of the Washington game.
That's coaching life for me. So I feel like we watched enough of the games to be able to come together.
Yeah, so you can go with the Wizards.
So, here, I'll tell you right now.
That was a bad one. I'll tell you that.
Do you remember what we predicted on the week? What we pretty much both said?
3-1, I think.
I think we both said 3-1.
One of the losses to the Spurs.
We predicted to go 1-1, home and home with the Spurs. So that back half of the week we nailed. So props to us. The first 2 games, however, we could not have been more wrong.
Not at all.
We could have tried, but we would not have been successful. I really thought. I'll just be honest. I thought the Wizards game was going to be a walk. I thought it was going to be cake. They were riding, I think it was an 8-game road losing streak. Washington is not a good team. And, man, we made them look great.
Yeah. They didn't even have... They were down a man, right?
Well, John Wall's out, for one.
But there was somebody else, yeah?
Whichever... Dwight Howard's out.
Okay.
Whichever of the Morris twins that they own, he's out. That's 3 starters right there.
Yeah.
Morris is a fringe starter. But point being is that's a lot of guys to be out, considering that we're mostly healthy. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. And you hope you can come out and beat the bad ones, because you're not always certain you're going to beat the good ones. And the Thunder's been pretty good about beating bad teams this season, and this was a bad little stretch here. So
hard to win games when you don't score 100 points in the NBA.
Especially when you're at home.
That's just the the way the league is.
And the thing was, it's not even like we didn't shoot great. It's just that defensively, we weren't great. The Wizards put up 13 more shots than we did. Yeah, they destroyed us on the rebounds, beat us in the turnover battle, and that was pretty much the game right there. Paul George didn't play crazy great, but he was okay. Russ struggled again. Schröder struggled again. Nobody else was really impactful. It was just a blah game, and it was ugly.
Like, is this thing over yet? Or
yeah, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
I was irritated, and the thing was, I didn't even have to write the recap. Our guy Trent did.
Poor Trent.
But I was still watching it, and I was so angry. I was so angry because I felt like it was a dumb loss. Shouldn't have happened. So yeah, we can go ahead and scoot on past that one. On to Minnesota. Played the Timberwolves at home. We had already played them at home a few weeks ago, and there were some.
I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
Can I back up real quick? So, I was working Sunday night after the game. Well, and during the game. And we have these regulars that always come in.
After the game?
After the game.
Okay.
And Caleb goes, how was the game? And the guy was like, are you serious? And I was like, Caleb, come on, man. And the guy goes...
Caleb is Craig's little brother that also works at Texadelphia.
He goes, the guy goes,
know.
yeah, what the heck is that all about, man? And just walks off. I was dying. Like, come on, Caleb. You can't just be asking questions like that.
How you going to do me like that? I'm with you.
Anyways, the guy was just kind of like taken back. Like, really? You asked me that?
We doing this. We're going to fight today.
Anyways, Minnesota.
Minnesota was a very frustrating game. You feel like the Thunder did a lot of good things. Get down early by 6, tie it up at half, falter in the third, and then kind of make a comeback there at the end, only to be, the first time they had played in Oklahoma City, there were some questionable officiating or lack of down the stretch, and then at the end of this one, it was just kind of the Thunder kind of fell apart, I guess you could say, and it was once again very frustrating. I was more mad about this one just because it was like we should have won, had a chance at the end to go for the tie, and instead we go for the win. I think credit to Minnesota because I believe they did play solid defense there at the end, blew it up, and ultimately Russ had to put up the final shot, which I do not think was what the plan was.
Couldn't have been.
I do not think that's what we wanted. So, but anyways.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Anytime there's I know we're going to talk about this later on, but anytime there's an injury like that in a game, it's kind of hard to... One or two things happen. All the life is sucked out of the place. Yeah. That or the team uses that as a
here's
way
the
to...
thing. So,
and they kind of did. They were,
Nerlens Noel got injured near middle of the third quarter. I didn't even mention that. He gets hurt once again. That was one of those. I felt like a flagrant one probably should have been called. And let's be clear, a flagrant one has nothing to do with intentionality or malice. A lot of times, it's just those are those excessive contact situations that tend to happen in the game sometimes. By definition, it seemed to fit the part perfectly. Andrew Wiggins goes up for a dunk. He extends a forearm, connects with Nerlens Noel's face to the point where he appears to be unconscious in midair, I might add. Falls to the ground, does not brace himself at all. His head literally bounces off the hardwood, and they immediately... You were at... This game you were at? Yeah, you went... They immediately bring the stretcher out. I mean, they're calling for it, and you can... Listen, another friend of mine, a guy who's on the Thunderheads podcast, I've talked about Jacob before, he was 2 rows behind the bench. So he saw it live and in person, like way up front. He said he saw him come, they come flying up real quickly, and it looked bad. He was concerned from that close. Obviously, watching the replay, super concerning. Scary situation.
This is the quietest I've ever heard that place.
It was
insane.
This is one of those injuries where you're not thinking, oh, he's going to be all right. Let's get him off and we'll continue with the game. This is one of those where my heart stops. I'm sick to my stomach. And not just because he plays for the Thunder, but you're concerned for this individual's well-being.
Right.
Like, legitimately his health. and you could even argue his life. I mean, I know that sounds
right.
excessive,
but for real,
if a guy hits his head, head injuries, those aren't something you mess around with. You're dealing with spinal cord situation, even with his neck and that kind of thing. Thankfully, come to find out, it's just a tough concussion. He should be back within a week or so. But like you said, it sucks the energy out of the arena. I feel like the Thunder do really well with responding to those types of situations, and they came out with some energy, but it didn't last for too long. Obviously, lose the game. That's disappointing.
Right. No, I'm glad you mentioned like his well-being, because the guys next to me were like, "That sucks because he's playing for a contract," and I'm like, I don't think that's what he's worried about or what anyone's worried about right now, man. Like, it's
Antonio Daniels. This is another reason I love the guy. He tweeted as soon as it happened, "Forget the game. We need to be praying for Nerlens Noel and his health." And I love Antonio Daniels for that reason. He's never shied away from sharing his faith. He does that regularly, and I feel like he focuses on the important things, whether it is specifically in the game what's important, or in this situation we're talking about a young man's life, his health, his future, etc. And thankfully he came out okay. Thunder couldn't get it done then, so 2-game losing streak at that point, which the Thunder has had a few of this season, but not too many. Head down to San Antonio for Thursday night's game. And I was nervous about this one from the get-go. You weren't feeling well, so I knew that tied into you not really being too excited about the game, because we predicted this one to be a loss. But then the Thunder come out, and they look pretty good at times, despite the fact that the Spurs had a record-setting night. I believe it was an NBA record, started with hitting 14 consecutive threes. That
14 of 14.
14 of 14 to start the game, and I think, did they miss one in there somewhere?
Yeah, they missed one for the whole game.
They finished 16 of 19.
Oh, okay. I forgot about the overtime misses.
Yeah,
but at the end of regulation.
At the end of regulation, they were. Was it
16 to 17? I think.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Unheard of. Listen, and the Spurs are the best 3-point shooting team in the league, but as you can tell, they don't just let them fly. They're the best percentage team because they really pick and choose. And what was crazy is, out of those first 12 or 13 makes, they were all from bench players. I'm thinking of guys like Marco Bellinelli. He finished 5 for 5 from 3, and he's to me
3 of them were in a row.
He's a fringe NBA contract guy. Like, how is this guy still in the league? And then, okay, you see why, stuff like that. So the fact that the Thunder was able to survive a record-setting night from 3, survive that on the road, and push it to double overtime. Listen, I was down on the loss because of the way that it went down. There were 6, 7, 8 reviewable plays in the last 2 minutes of regulation, and then all of the the 2 overtimes. So many, and not a single one of them went the Thunder's way. And whether you're arguing, well, it's by rule or whatever, listen, the ball wasn't going the Thunder's way. Whether you want to blame the officials, whether you want to blame, I don't know, the basketball gods, I don't know. It was not good.
The Spurs literally fouled, and it worked into their favor.
Yes.
And they did. It's not they intentionally fouled either, I don't think. So it's just one of those nights, man.
Royce Young brought up the point. Some context here. Paul George puts up a 3 near the end of the game, near the end of double overtime. It goes in, and Steven Adams is pushed in the process because he's setting a screen. They blow the foul. Technically, it could have been a 3 followed by a free throw for Steven Adams. But they went back and they reviewed it. The foul occurred a quarter of a second before Paul George let the shot fly. So they took the 3 away and awarded Steven Adams 2 free throws. Not a great free throw shooter. So Royce Young brought up, yes, that is technically the correct call, but teams could exploit that. It's a very exploitable rule. You know a team is trying to shoot a 3, foul some rando.
Yeah.
And he has to go to the line. It negates the 3-point shot. It's just one of those things where I understand the rule, but in the context, should that be the rule? You know, and obviously you can't go through and nitpick every little thing, but it's very frustrating that it turned out.
Yeah,
that way.
I mean, if you're the Spurs, you love it.
Oh
obviously. Yeah. It's one of those things where maybe they could look into, like, was he in the act of shooting? Kind of one of those fouls, and which he obviously was. It was just the ball hadn't left his hand yet, and that is the rule.
Almost like a continuation type thing. But
so, I mean, by rule, it sucks, but.
So the Spurs pick up that win in double overtime, which they won by 7, but everybody knows it. I mean, first off, double overtime games, you don't run away with it at the end.
Yeah.
Typically. it was a close game. Thunder had to foul, and then for whatever reason they fouled again to force free throws, which it was pretty much decided at that point. Super disappointing.
Not more disappointing. Well, never mind. No, I'm not going to say that. What? Sucks that Aldridge scored 56 points.
Man.
That's for sure.
Here's the thing. Steven Adams rolled his ankle, and he's out of the game, and he was the only guy that could remotely do anything against Aldridge.
And not having...
Jeremy Grant got manhandled.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Noel was out.
I mean, so there's that. I mean, Jeremy Grant's a big dude, but compared to Aldridge, I mean, he looked kind of
LaMarcus Aldridge is 2 inches taller and maybe 30 to 50 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
Than Grant.
And it looks like more than 2 inches.
Oh my gosh, yes. It looked like if, I don't know, Draymond Green was trying to guard Shaquille O'Neal in his prime. It doesn't matter how good you are, it ain't happening. And Aldridge was on one of those streaks, which he always goes on, it seems like, against the Thunder, and he could not miss. And so he really led the way there. Tough double overtime loss. Head back to Oklahoma City for the reverse matchup with the Spurs here in Oklahoma City last night. I was pleasantly surprised. I had checked the score around halftime. I was actually coaching a game of my own. So I checked the score around halftime. I think we were down by, what was it, 7?
9, I think.
Down by, was it really that bad?
I think it was 60 to 51.
Yeah, we were down by 9 at half, and I'm thinking, that's not really good. I didn't think it was over, but I was nervous. And based on some tweets that I had seen in just a couple seconds, it looked like we weren't playing particularly well. Russ was 1 for 9 to start. That's never good.
We weren't playing well. It's funny that you mentioned being down by 9 and thinking, oh man, that sucks. Because from watching the game, for me, it was kind of encouraging to be down by 9 because it was worse than that. And the Thunder kind of inched closer right before halftime, got it within
That's rough.
10. And so I'm thinking, cool, we got a shot.
Yeah.
And,
So then come out in the third quarter and
13-3 run.
Let me see.
To open the quarter.
13-3 run to open the quarter. That's wild.
And that gave us the lead right there.
So yeah, took the lead, and it wasn't even with like midway through the third. Thunder took the lead, and I think it looks like the Spurs retook it briefly, and then the Thunder ran away with it. I noticed led by 17-18 there at the end of the game. Yeah, led by 18 at one point. End up getting the 10-point victory. That's solid.
Yeah, for sure. The Thunder's bench was the key in this one, much like the Spurs bench was the key in the game that they won.
Notice the Spurs only managed to shoot 10 of 31 from 3, slightly different.
Yeah, slightly.
Which, to mention, the Thunder shot fairly well recently. Yeah. In that loss, they shot 15 of 35, so 43%. Last night, shot 11 of 23, that's 48%. Just solid numbers. Russ rebounded after starting 1 for 9. He came back, finished 8 for 15 to go 9 for 24 for the game. Yeah. Still not a great overall percentage, but that's a good second half for him.
Right.
Which is what the Thunder needs.
And a lot of it was in
1 for 2 for 3,
I would
by
say
the way.
clutch situations, like in transition, he was able to finish some layups. And did you see the between the legs pass from Schröder?
I didn't see that one. I saw a couple of Russ's highlights, the behind the back fake, old Rondo or Mike Miller. Or I'm trying to think of who else.
It was
do those things.
Jason Williams.
Jason Williams.
Yeah,
that's what I was
there we go.
Mike Miller, wrong white guy.
Rondo also.
Rondo does that a lot. Those types of things. That was a sick one, and then he got Bellinelli on skates and then dished it at the end. I love that, especially after Bellinelli killed us. And I think he was still their high man, wasn't he? Yeah, he scored 24. LaMarcus Aldridge was remarkably ineffective, 8 for 14, still shot well, but he took less than half as many shots as he took on Thursday. I'll take that any which way. Bellinelli had 24, and he only played 22 minutes, so he was still 4 for 6 from 3, not quite 5 of 5, but obviously the guy can still play, and I'm not giving him enough credit. But anyways, so overall, tough week, but good win last night. My question that I'll throw this out there: whose fault? Who is to blame? Who's to blame for the rough week?
I don't think you can blame any one specific guy or a group of guys. I think it's a team effort, honestly. Defense, although there were some moments where the defense looked solid, I don't think as a whole the Thunder played great defense this week.
I would agree with that.
And I mean, you could say that's the blame right there, no doubt, because this team is built on defense. So if you're not doing what you're best at, then
if you lose your identity, which I felt like the Thunder really did the first 2 games of the week against the Wizards and the Timberwolves, it's kind of hard to play good defense when you're going into double overtime. Last night, for just looking at numbers, statistics, since I missed the game, looks like they did a solid job. Forced the Spurs, who were a pretty disciplined team, into 14 turnovers. Only turned the ball over 7 times. Taking care of the ball, shooting well from 3. Those are all good things. A good way to finish a rough week. But here's the reason I asked the question. Obviously, who do you think gets blamed for this last week? Because there are 2 names that I saw everywhere. Who do you think?
If there's 2 names, I would say it was both Paul George and Russell Westbrook.
Paul George doesn't get mentioned for anything. He doesn't get blamed for anything.
Because he didn't have
last
the
season
best week at all.
He did not have a good... He did not play well last night.
He's kind of, the guy right now, so
I was surprised to see his 5 for 17 stat line. I was surprised to see that, and the fact that we still won by, pretty handily in the second half. So he doesn't get any blame for anything right now, it seems like. And that's fine. Russ gets all the hatred anytime he does anything remotely wrong. Had 24 assists the other night and still gets blamed for the way that the game ended.
The second triple-double with 20 and 20 in NBA history.
In the last 20 years.
In the last 20 years?
Yes.
Okay.
In the last 20 years.
Both of them.
And he has both of them. The last guy to do it, Oscar Robertson did it. I think Magic Johnson did it. It was like the 6th ever. And he's got 2 of them. And maybe that's not right.
To waste a stat line like that on a loss sucks,
very disappointing. But it was all his fault.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever.
Always.
And then
I think
other
he
guy
likes it to be that way, in a sense, because I don't think it bothers him.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I started reading Darnell Mayberry's 100 Things Every Thunder Fan Should Do or Know or whatever it is. I can't remember. I bought it a while back, and so it's like 100 short chapters. So it's one of my bathroom books, if you know what I mean. I can read a little bit and not waste any time. And I was reading about Russell Westbrook's MVP season, the triple-doubles and everything like that. And as I'm reading it, I'm reliving it. And I'm like, man, I missed that. Russ was the hero of the league that year. Kevin Durant had left. Everybody loved him. He didn't have a lot of hatred, like from anybody. Maybe the Warriors, but that was really it. Everybody loved the guy. Harden fans, they didn't like him because, poor James Harden, blah, blah, blah. But he was getting MVP chants in Washington. He was getting them in Brooklyn. He was getting them from around the league. He was everybody's hero. And now that's kind of worn off. And I'm like, I miss that. Because Oklahoma City fans would have run through walls for him. And now I've seen people say, let's trade him. Schröder should start. We could get some shooters. And all that. And I don't get that. That's hop off the bandwagon and go somewhere else. I can't stand that. All right? And then the other guy that I've seen getting blamed is Billy Donovan. And I'm not going to try to act like I know everything about coaching now that I'm an assistant coach, and I have been for a few months. But my perspective has changed.
I have an update on Alex Sabrina's whereabouts.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, let's get to that right after I say this. I realize now that I've done a little bit of coaching that I don't know near as much about basketball, especially coaching basketball, as I thought I did. Everybody thinks they could coach a basketball team. You can't. It's so much harder than it looks. There's so much more work that's involved. And at the NBA level, you're talking about managing NBA personalities, Russell Westbrook, that type of thing. It's not easy. Billy Donovan gets almost no credit when the Thunder's winning. He gets a ton of blame when the Thunder's losing. And that's kind of how it goes. But that's not really fair. Either he's doing a good job when the Thunder are winning, or it's not his, Fire Billy Donovan. 0-4 start. No talks for forever. We lose 3 games in a row. Fire Billy Donovan. Right. We shouldn't be losing 3 games in a row. You can't do that. That's not how it works.
These same people I keep talking about that were next to me at the Timberwolves game were talking about how he's the worst coach in the NBA. I was like, that's not true. It's just not true. That ain't true.
Got my gun.
Yeah, I think
that's not true. No, he's not the worst coach in the NBA. Yeah. Is he the best? No. Is he top 5? Probably not. But I've seen him do some things that are obviously good. The players, I really do feel like the guys, they love him and they love to play for him. And I think a lot of players do that. You have to really suck to be hated by your team.
Right.
The Thunder do not hate him. Russell Westbrook, his teammates love him. They are not concerned at all with him missing shots, with him taking threes, missing, any of that. So, above all, it's a team game. I'm tired of seeing the blame game here, and a lot of people think that I'm like overtly defending Russ because I'm such a homer. And there is some of that. But my thing isn't just stop blaming Russ. It's let's blame everybody that is to blame. Okay, so what was your Alex Abrinas news that you got an insider, or was there just a report?
he's just walking around downtown Oklahoma City in the T-Dolphs areas.
Oh, so one of your coworkers?
He's been spotted. So he's alive, which we knew because they released that he had been with the team.
Yeah, he's been around.
I think they had to release something because people were like...
start wondering. Well, Patrick Patterson, he snapped on Snapchat something where they were like playing soccer or something, and you can see Abrinas in the background. So he's not just around, he's with the team.
Right.
And I almost wonder if Patterson did that on purpose. Like, hey, he's still here, which is great.
Because people were like talking about him like not even being in the country.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I guess he could have went on a short trip.
I hope he's all right.
To Spain.
Whatever it is, I hope he's all right. I hope he returns soon.
He tweeted about the
Noel
injury.
The Noel injury, that's right. So anyways, which reminds me, with him being gone, who's gonna take his place? Okay, or are guys taking his place? I guess I should say, because you look at a few of these guys that are playing really good basketball lately in his absence, and it's kind of bad timing. I'm going to pose a question and allow you to answer it, and I'll hop up and grab my thermos and pour you some more. That work?
So I have to stay here and talk?
Yeah, for just like, I don't know, 10 seconds or so.
I don't know why it always makes me so nervous.
Don't leave me alone. Okay,
too much screen time, I guess.
So here's my question. And I got stats and I got things to talk about. So I'm gonna let you chat a little bit. But how good is Abdel Nader?
I would say, based off of what we've seen so far, really good. He's definitely good at creating his own shot. That's probably, I would say, his strong suit.
I would agree completely.
But then again, he also was in some catch and shoot situations, and one in the fourth quarter made that kind of iced over the game last night, in a sense. So I almost don't want to get too excited, almost like... dare I say, like an Alex Abrinas situation where you get excited about a guy and then he kind of tapers off. Yeah. But, I mean, so far, I would say he's looking really good.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to do.
Are you about to shoot me down there?
Well, let me hear you out. You hear me out.
Okay.
I'm an English teacher. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I was your English teacher for a few years.
I'm aware of your...
But...
career.
You're also aware that I like numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I don't teach math, and I actually get a lot of grief for not being for not being like math savvy. But I really am actually. I'm pretty good with numbers. When it comes to sports, I like statistics because I think they don't tell the whole story, but they can definitely tell part of it. Mm-hmm. So here's some statistics. Last 2 games, Nader is 10 for 10 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3.
It's pretty solid.
6 for 6 from the free throw line on the entire season. Doesn't shoot a lot of free throws, but he's made every single one of them, and I can get down with that. Okay? In his first 15 games of limited play time, he played sparingly, mostly garbage time. He was 0 for 5 from 3. In his last 9 games of playtime increase, that's where he's really played, he's 10 for 18. That's solid. That's super solid. You're looking at like 59% or something like that, upper 50s%. But my big question with him that I've yet to really see an answer to is what can he do for others? You hit the nail on the head. He definitely creates his own shot well. He does that arguably better than a lot of the guys on the team. He's not crazy tall, but I feel like he's kind of built a little bit. Mm-hmm. He was flexing on some guys a week or 2 back, and that's awesome. And you were right about catch and shoot. He's knocked down some. I don't know if you remember early in the season, he put a couple off the side of the backboard, like Andre Robertson style. Yeah. That's not what we want.
I kind of miss that, man.
I miss Dre.
It's kind of fun.
It is.
Like, and then backboard.
And what do you do? You laugh. You hope it's not a clutch situation. Yeah. But so for Nader, I feel like he's a mediocre defender, nothing special. He's tough. But my biggest concern about the guy is he likes. Listen, when he gets the ball, I feel like the possession's over. He's gonna shoot, whether it's catch and shoot, whether it's drive and shoot. I feel like that's really all he does. I need to, and as a matter of fact, while I'm talking about this, I'll pull up his season stats. I feel like he doesn't, he doesn't have a lot of. He's averaging 0.3 assists per game, which I mean, obviously he's not in there to get assists,
Right.
but he had 2 last game, which is his season high. Before that, he had 4 on the season. So 6 assists. He's got as many free throw attempts as he does assists. And I don't know. I don't. Here's the thing: we have tons of guys that can score, that can create their own shot, and that's fine. I bet that might even be necessary coming off the bench, a role player that can do that. But if he's going to be getting more play time, playing alongside Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Steven Adams, Dennis Schröder, especially. I don't like that the ball just. I feel like he's easy to defend, or he will become easy to defend. Here's the thing: whenever I watch guys play at this point, because of what I do for our basketball team that I help coach, whenever I'm watching our guys, I scout them from the other team's perspective. What would I be thinking if I'm somebody else trying to stop that guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whenever I see him play, my mind instantly goes to, what can I do to stop him? Just keep the ball out of his hands, and he's shut down. Because he doesn't do much else for the rest of the team. I don't really see him. I don't know. What do you think?
I think, first of all, when you talk about the first few games where he was 0 for 5, there's a big difference in getting meaningful playing time, which he's received lately, and then coming in for the last 50 seconds of the game.
I brought those numbers up just to,
right. I'm just saying,
just to show you he's playing way better.
Yeah,
he's playing way better. And I don't even really count those early games. I was just kind of saying that to prove a point that he has done really well since he started receiving more significant playing time.
Secondly, I would say the opposite of what you said with Russ and Schröder. I think there's enough distributing of the ball going around between even throwing Paul George in there, who's I feel like is around. I could be wrong. I feel like he's around like 4, 5, 6 assists per game.
Might be a little high, but.
And anyways, I feel like there's enough going on there that having a guy like him who is just going to shoot the ball and can create his own shot is not a bad thing to have. And so also take it for what it is now. He's a young guy. This is his first go at it. He's going to develop. So take it for where he's at now, and he's going to improve. The Thunder have done well at, molding players, growing them, and turning them into what they are now. And I think they'll do the same thing with Nader if they have the time to do that. So I agree with what you're saying as far as he does need to improve, his overall game. He's kind of a one-dimensional player right now. But that being said, take it for what it is. It's working.
Yeah,
I feel like when teams finally do start stopping it, that's when you worry about it. But
a lot of people don't realize he's only a second-year player.
Right.
Which I don't even think. I knew he was young, but for some reason I was thinking he was 3rd or 4th year. Played for the Celtics last year, and the thing is, who he is who he was last year. Celtics fans knew that. And the problem is Thunder fans will get real big on him after the last 2 games, but they can get real down on him because I saw it. I was there. And I've been hesitant to get up on the guy real easy. Some people are real big on him really quickly, and I'm super hesitant, like you said, Alex, Abrinas type situation. I don't know. But moving on, talking about other guys that have been showing up, Terrence Ferguson specifically, I've been on the TFerg train for a while now. Complete flip-flop from what I was to start the season, I might add.
He's so awkward.
He is, but you mean just as a person or as a player?
As a player, I don't know about his person.
He's awkward as a person.
Oh, is he?
He's just goofy. He's
really?
super smiley, and when he does the
yeah. I think I've seen that.
I think part of that's because he's young. But here's the thing:
he's so lanky. Like he needs to eat a sandwich or something.
He needs to eat about 18 steaks. Listen, I love the guy. I'm all in on him right now, and it's not just like because of recent play. I've been all in on him for quite some time, and
I think since the dunk against the Lakers, the first one
last year.
Yeah,
okay, not that long. Here's the thing. He started off the season, and here's some more numbers. Right now, he's shooting 37.4% from 3, and let me pull up really quickly where that puts him on the team. It's got to be near the top. third best 3-point shooter on the team. Best 3-point shooter right now, percentage-wise, obviously low volume, is Abdel Nader. He's 43.5. And then Paul George, of course, highest volume. But then right behind him is Terrence Ferguson. Here's the thing, which is surprising, because he didn't shoot great from 3 last season. He started, through the first 7 games of the season, he started 1 for 14. That's 7.1% from 3. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember this. We talked about it a while back. Russell Westbrook gave him a call, got in the gym with him. He basically said, stop hesitating, let it fly. Let it fly. Listen, if I'm a shooter, and I know I'm a shooter, even though I'm not showing it, and, you know, one of the best players in all of the NBA in the world tells me let it fly, my confidence instantly goes through the roof, and I think that's what happened. Since then, he's 36 for 85, which is 42.4%.
Yeah.
And
I want to say it was like the very next game that he hit one off of an assist from Russ.
I think so.
And that kind of sparked the whole thing.
Going. Not only that, but he has slowly put himself into fringe elite defender category. Mm-hmm. Now, Andre Robertson was pushing to be Defensive Player of the Year before he got injured last year because he could defend the 1 through the 4. Ferguson needs about 30, 40 pounds to be able to really guard a 3 or a 4. Right now, I think he can guard any 1 or 2. And he's done a pretty solid job defensively. And it's not just that he's good at it. His effort is always there. Mm-hmm. He's only a second-year player. I almost hate to say it, but he's working Andre. Even if Dre comes back and he's as healthy as he was, he's working Dre out of a job.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
We've
talked about that.
I don't know what that means.
We don't know where he fits in right now.
I don't know what that means for Dre long term, where he's going to end up, whatever. But right now, I'm all in on Terrence Ferguson. I love his attitude. He's always smiling in a goofy way.
He seems like a happy to be here kind of guy.
Yeah,
you know?
I think he is. Listen, he went to Australia straight out of high school. Then he got drafted. He was one of those like, really, Presty? That's who we're gonna go with. Not that it was a terrible pick, but it was just kind of questionable. But at the same time, Russell Westbrook, he was a questionable call. Serge Ibaka, he was a questionable call. Steven Adams, he was a questionable call in terms of where those guys were drafted at. And at this point, I'm just like, man, let's just quit questioning Presty. Yeah. He's got more wins than he does losses in terms of moves, and everybody wants to point to the James Harden trade.
They always will.
Always.
No matter.
But man, the dude is making moves, and he's been doing things, and that brings us to Patrick Patterson, who so many Thunder fans, myself included, were ready to just forget about the guy. Not trade him, because I didn't think anybody would take him for what he was doing, for how much his contract is, which isn't much, but that type of thing. Patterson, he's shooting 32.7% on the season from the 3-point line. That's not good.
No.
That's El Terrible. Not Russell Westbrook bad, but that's bad. Here's some numbers. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You got anything to say before I...
Well, I was just going to say, honest to goodness, last night he was 3 for 3 from beyond the arc, and I screamed no on every single one that he shot.
But why did you scream no?
Because I had no faith whatsoever that he was going to hit those shots.
But now he is.
He is.
So let's talk about that. Started the season, first 9 games, 13 for 32 from 3. Mm-hmm. That's 40.6%. That's solid.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. The next 22 games, he went 10 for 49. That's solid. Russell Westbrook territory. Yeah. 20.4% from 3. Okay? The last 11 games. So he's played, what is that? Quick math. He's played all 42 games so far. The middle 22 were just ugly. All right? Last 11 games, he's 12 for 26. That's 46.2% from 3. I don't know what that middle funk was, and I can't tell if it's gone yet, but it kind of looks like it is.
He's been happens to Thunder players.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this happens throughout the league as much as it does for Thunder players.
I feel like it's got to. You know what I mean?
As soon as the guy starts shooting well, you're like, oh, this ain't going to last long.
I feel like it's got to simply because, we only focus on our guys, really, like on that level. I feel like it's got to happen to other guys.
I feel like you have the exceptions, and that's what the league,
Yeah, and those guys get all the attention. But here's the thing. this is why you don't sell on guys after. 22 games is a lot of games. That's That's more than a quarter of the season. Mm-hmm. But it's a long season. Throw in the playoffs. It's a really long season. We're working for the playoffs. That's what we're doing. And if you have to grind through some junk to find something pretty, I'm good with that. If you have to look, sure. And I kind of feel like that's where we're at with him, with Terrence Ferguson. You stick it out, bam, I'm happy.
Heard.
Let them, if they're gonna hit, let it fly, and if they're not hitting, keep letting it fly till we find it, and then eventually if you get to a point where you got to shut it down, then that's fine. Okay. So right now, despite the rough week, I like where we're at. I like where our roster's at. I like where our role players are at. Mm-hmm. I'm not concerned with Russell Westbrook's shot at all. He's going to figure it out. I do think part of it has to do with recovering from that knee injury that he was dealing with. And I think he's still coming off of it. Come playoffs, I think we're going to be set. I like where I'm looking at the roster, and I'm thinking, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think we're 9 or 10 guys solid, maybe even 11.
We had 7 in double digits last night.
That doesn't happen a lot.
No,
but I feel like our front 6 are really good. I'm talking about starting 5 and Schröder. Throw him in there. He got out of his slump last night. We forgot to mention that. He was, real quick, let me throw that in there. He shot 47%, 19 points. That was his best percentage in a single game since being suspended against the Sacramento Kings after that Chicago altercation, which was middle December. In the last month, 47% is his best. He shot a lot of sub 40s. Yeah. We can't have that. 17 shots is a lot for a backup point guard, even.
And cracks me up been doing that all 19 of his points came in the second half last night.
Yeah. Listen, when he's good, we're good.
Yeah.
When he's not, we're probably not. So, but overall, I'm pretty happy with where the roster's at. What's up?
I need a tissue.
Oh, there's some right there, man. Yeah, I don't even know what's going on there. But anyways, moving on. A couple more things to just mention. We don't have to go deep into detail about, but they announced yesterday, the Thunder organization announced yesterday, Nick Collison getting his retirement, getting his jersey retired after retiring from basketball last season. The ceremony will be on March 20th against the Raptors. We got to go to that game. Yeah. But so if you got tickets and want to hand them out, hook us up. But I've not actually seen it, but I've seen people talking about it, that some fans, Thunder fans, are unhappy about it. Like, they can't believe that Nick Collison would get his jersey retired. And here's the problem. As far as every player who's ever had his jersey retired, statistics go, he's probably the worst of all of them, statistically speaking. But let's not forget about what he did off the stat sheet, what he did for the city of Oklahoma City, how he represented the Thunder organization, how he still represents the Thunder organization. Mr. Thunder himself. Is this a shock to you?
No.
I think the only thing that comes as a shock to me is that it's happening so soon.
Right.
Which I personally love. I put this out there on Twitter yesterday. I love that it didn't take a lot of time, because to me it's no question that it should happen. So why wait?
Yeah. To me, there's nobody else that I would rather have to be the first jersey retired in Oklahoma City. You know what I mean? And for everybody else in the NBA, this makes no sense. And for those fans that are doubting it, I would question
how long you've been a fan.
Yeah, or how much of a fan you really are. I mean, you nailed it. His stuff off the court, what he's done for Oklahoma City, but also people forget that he had a pretty decent-sized role in that 2012 finals run. And so, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think the Thunder would have made it to the finals without his help there on the second unit, pick and roll with Harden and stuff. So
I think the whole locker room guy thing gets overused a lot. So when guys who are true locker room guys, like Nick Collison, the dude's going to be a coach. I feel like he's going to be on the bench. He's going to be an assistant for this team in the future. I think this whole player relations thing is just kind of his thing. He doesn't want to do too much too soon. He wants to enjoy retirement. He's a quiet guy. He's reserved, off the court, family man. I can appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to ease into it, but I definitely see him in that role in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I love the guy. He's Mr. Thunder for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
I'm happy for him. I'm thrilled for him.
For sure.
Moving on.
And I'm glad we picked him up as whatever the whole deal was for him working in the organization.
Right.
I'm glad that happened because someone else was going to if the Thunder
I feel like for
snatch
sure.
him. You know what I mean?
Right now, All-Star voting's going on. The second returns came back sometime last week. Next one's the fan voting. Have you seen any of those numbers by chance?
I saw that Adams was over 1 million votes, which is
he's been killing it.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
And I think Paul George was up to like number 3 in the West.
Overall.
Oh, okay.
Third in the West overall. Not I'm saying not positioning.
Oh, okay.
Russ is a little bit lower,
which
on the guards list. Just because what is surprising is Derrick Rose is involved. The dude's had a heck of a season, but
for sure.
Come on. But anyways, other shocking numbers.
People love a good story. That's what that
Draymond Green getting All-Star votes. DeMarcus Cousins getting All-Star votes. Who else is on here? Lonzo Ball getting All-Star votes. Come on. Chris Paul getting All-Star. Listen, you're injured or you're not good. You shouldn't. Fans are a little.
It's like Kobe missed like the whole season one year and got elected as an All-Star. He declined, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's what's kind of dumb about the All-Star voting. In my opinion. It's like fan bases versus fan bases.
It really is. That's why I don't like the fan voting.
Yeah.
I just don't. Because bigger markets. I mean, I'm impressed. Steven Adams, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, they're up there. Oklahoma City's not. I know Russell Westbrook doesn't believe in small markets, but come on.
This might make me sound, I don't know, dumb, but how do other leagues do their All-Star voting? Is it fan-based still, or do they have...
I'm not even sure, to be honest.
It doesn't matter, but I was just...
But yeah, so the next return should be here in the next few days.
I'm not a fan of the NBA All-Star stuff anyways. Just the way it is.
It needs to be more competitive. It is meaningless, I feel like. But
anyway, the way baseball does it, man.
I wanted to talk about that because did you hear about what Steven Adams had to say? He was talking to Royce Young about All-Star, and he's like, yeah... honestly, I think I'd probably just miss. I'd like to miss because I'd like the rest. And I'm like, if that's not the most Steven Adams thing of all time, I don't know if I think he'll play if he gets voted, and I hope he does because I think he's earned it. But that is super. I can't remember who it was who was like, those Scottie Pippen. He was like, those weekends were wild, and it's a time where guys really could use some rest. And I feel like he's one of them. He seems to get banged up just because of his, that's the nature of his play style. But it is pretty funny that he would say, I'd rather just, he probably wants to just eat and take naps, play Fortnite and watch anime or something like, his kind of thing. So we'll see how that goes. Last thing I want to talk about before we get into our weekly forecast. Have you heard about these quote unquote trade talks? Guys that have been involved in conversations.
I've heard the Kevin Love stuff.
I put four numbers down here. Terrence Ross, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kevin Love, and then Taurean Prince. I don't know how much merit there is to him. I mean, some guy, I can't remember who it was that said it, but said the Thunder are apparently heavily involved in talks to try to bring in another big man. So...
that would be the move that makes sense considering our depth at the moment.
Yeah, yes, and no. Of the guys that are involved here, those three... How do you feel about any of them? I mean, is there anybody that stands out there for you, or?
I mean,
let's ignore money and position and quality of trade that we have to give away. Who would you like out of that group?
I think the obvious answer is Kevin Love.
Well, yeah, because of talent alone.
I've been a fan of Kevin Love for quite a while now. I don't think he's a problematic guy whatsoever, so I don't think you would have to worry about chemistry as much as you would with other guys. That being said, the Thunder are kind of in a position, third in the West right now. They've shown the ability to be better than that. They're kind of on a slump, or I think they would be, at least 2 right now. It's like, why fix what's not broke?
Yeah.
That being said, you might still need one more guy to push you to that next level.
And the problem with him compared to these other guys on the list is obviously
money.
Yeah. So I think I would agree with you. So he's kind of his own category to me in terms of skill, but cost. So with the other guys, who stands out? Any of them? I'm a big fan of Taurean Prince. I think he's in his second year. Wasn't he a rookie last? No, he's not. He's in his third year, I believe.
Real close.
He's averaging 15 points, 4 rebounds, 2.3 assists. He's a solid 3-point shooter at 36.7%. He hits free throws. Man, we could use that. And he's a solid defender. He's a Thunder type of guy. Once again, I don't know where the Hawks are at with players. To me, obviously, they're all about. To me, the guys that are immovable for them are going to be Trae Young and John Collins. Outside of that, and Vince Carter, of course. Outside of that, I don't know what kind of deal we could get for him, but I do like him. So I don't know. But besides that, I just don't know. We have an extra roster spot, so
right. I just feel like it's almost one of those things where I feel like you go for the home run or nothing if you're the Thunder. I could be wrong.
I think he might be that guy, though.
You think so?
I think he's a guy that could push the Thunder into another level of play. I don't know. We'll see. Looking ahead for this week, interestingly questionable in terms of how tough it's going to be. Play the Hawks in Atlanta on Tuesday. To me, I'm not even going to say it.
Yeah.
But it should be. You guys know what I'm getting at here.
You know.
If you know, you know. If you don't, then I don't want to talk about it. But there's that. Thursday against the Lakers, LeBron's still out. His groin injury has been super weird in terms of what the Lakers have said about it.
I'm so glad I didn't buy tickets.
I bet.
They're like $90. Cheapest in Loud City was $90.
Yeah,
and if I would have bought that like months in advance, I'd have been so...
I guarantee you they're going cheaper now because he is not going to play. And they're in they're rough right now. They're barely in playoff contention. And they're 4-6 in their last 10. I can't remember how many LeBron has missed, but they're definitely not. Let me see if I can pull that up really quick. I believe they've definitely lost more than they've won without him. He's sat out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so he's missed the last 10 games, and they're 4-6 in those games. So that just kind of shows you
they're down to $50. So that's still, a medium level ticket.
They play the Cavs tonight, so they'll probably pick up a win there. I would assume. Who knows? But anyways, we play them on Thursday. They play the Cavs and the Bulls, so those are two nice little games for them. Hopefully to find some mojo before they come into Oklahoma City. But I think I like our chances there as long as we don't play like we did in LA. And then Saturday's afternoon game, it's a 2:30 p.m. tip against the 76ers.
Hate those.
That's at home. Are you probably going to have to work?
I'm probably going to be working, man.
So, right now Philly is 6-4 in their last 10. If that's updated, they literally just finished against the New York Knicks, beat the Knicks by 3. Not a great game for them, and I feel like Philly's been on a bit of a slide, not really playing their best basketball as of late. They lost to the Hawks on Friday, lost to the Wizards on Wednesday. Thunder know a little bit about that. So I don't, they just looking at their last few games, nothing super impressive. Going back to December 30th, they got smacked by Portland. Barely beat the Clippers, barely beat the Suns, barely beat the Mavericks, handled the Wizards, and then turned around the very next day and got smacked by the Wizards. Barely lost to the Hawks, barely beat the Knicks. You get the trend there, okay? Right. So I feel 3-0 is definitely doable. I feel like 2-1 might be more realistic because that's just kind of the Thunder right now. But we'll see. I'm feeling pretty good about it. What do you think?
I agree. I would say... Dare I say 3-0 because we all know how that goes. But like you said, this is a very favorable schedule, or so it appears to be. But you never know, man.
We'll just kind of have to see how
anybody can have a good night and
So,
GG.
So I think that's going to be it for us. We'll hit you guys back next Sunday. We'll be talking about how this week goes. We'll see. We'll see what the Thunder's got going on. See if they can continue getting some things done. You got anything else?
That's it, man.
All right, man. Well, I think that's going to do it for the Thunder guys. I'm Zach.
I'm Craig.
And you've been tuned in to Thunder Things. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next week. Until then, make sure you keep the Thunder in your position because we most certainly will be. Have a good one.